And good afternoon. It's Monday, 1 o'clock. Welcome to the Deal Doctor live stream. Couple of notes. Don't forget to register RSVP for the Christmas party. It's coming up quick. Getting excited. It's going to be fun. And I don't think we've sent out the Con Ed invitation yet. I'm not 100% sure on that, but save the date. January 7th. It's going to be really good. Probably the best one we've done so far in the 7 years that I've been here anyway. So save the date, January 7th, and sign up, and I hope you can join us. Eric and I, Greg and Paul, Kim, we've all tried to struggle with what is the commonality that we see when agents find themselves in challenging situations? And what it boils down to is, it sort of popped into my mind this morning, that home runs don't count if you don't touch home plate. If you don't tag home plate, or first, second, and third bases, your home run doesn't count. So, I think that what that means is sometimes if we take and knock the skin off the ball all the way into the upper deck of center field, and we're so happy and we hear the crowd noise and we feel congratulations coming our way, that we don't stay focused on tagging the bases. We get distracted. We get in a hurry. And so we don't tag all the bases. And then guess what? Our home run doesn't count. Doesn't count in the eyes of the consumer. Doesn't count in the eyes of other agents or the company or your checkbook. Doesn't count if ultimately we have been distracted, we've allowed ourselves to be distracted by the noise, by whatever else interrupts our day, whatever distraction there is, whatever shiny object, whatever it is, that takes us away from dotting the I's and crossing the T's. That's where the mistakes happen. That's when the mistakes happen. I can't tell you enough that I could go case after case after case after case where agents have erred by omission or commission because they didn't take the time to tag the base. For example, getting up to bat is, there's a lot that goes on before that. Getting up to bat is your opportunity, for example, if you're a listing agent, to put a listing on the MLS. But before you do that, you got to be in the on-deck circle. You got to wait through a line of 8 other batters to get up to the plate and take your turn at an attempt to get on base or hit a home run, right? So what do? Well, if you ever notice in baseball, there's a guy swinging a bat, warming up. Kind of got to wait on it. He's swinging, getting ready to go up to the batter's box and see if he can knock home a double, a triple, or a home run. He's preparing for his opportunity to put that ball into the upper deck of center field. Just as we as agents have to prepare before we put that listing on the multiple listing. We have to verify the information that we're putting on there. Because whether it's the buyer's agent's responsibility to verify it or not, and it is, it's also our responsibility to make sure it's not a question, that the issue never comes up and has to be decided in a grievance meeting or a court of law. That's our job. And sometimes agents get distracted. Sometimes agents get in a hurry. Sometimes they don't follow through because there are other things that become more important. I don't know about you, but getting credit for hitting a home run, if I was in baseball, would be pretty important to me. And getting a paycheck and keeping it, not letting a buyer or a seller or a courtroom take it away from me, would be pretty important. So I encourage agents, number one, to always verify the information. If you're a seller's agent, if you're a listing agent, go to the county courthouse. Go to the township. Call the DOT or the road commission who's responsible for the road to talk about egress or ingress, or if there's going to be some change to the road in the future. Do your homework. Find out if the utilities are there. Find out if there is a septic system which can be connected to a sewer system. Find out exactly where the parcel is, where the boundaries are, and take pictures of it. Call the DEQ. Find out if it is truly a buildable lot and where it is buildable, so that when you market that property, you are marketing it accurately. Now, if you're on the flip side and working for the buyer, the same holds true. You have to do your homework. You have to err on the side of thoroughness and go to the township to find out what a parcel may have. Call to Consumers Energy will tell you whether or not there's electricity or gas, depending on which one supplies in that area. But it's a quick call to the utilities to find out whether or not they're in the road or not. And if you're a buyer's agent, that's your job. Same thing with a survey. I get a lot of calls about surveys. Forgive me. And people say, well, there's a survey, or there hasn't been a survey, or the survey resulted in finding out that the fence is 3 feet on the neighbor's property. What do I do? Well, I'd start by asking more questions. But if there was, in fact, a boundary survey, not a mortgage sketch, but a boundary survey done, and the neighboring property is being encroached upon by the home that your buyer is buying, then I'd probably get that matter resolved before moving forward. Not after the closing, not during the closing, not the day before the closing. It would be wise to say, my buyer's a little nervous about buying that property, knowing that his fence goes 3 feet onto the neighbor's property, and feels as though they want some assurance that the neighbor in 2 years or 1 year isn't going to tell them to remove their fence and move it 3 feet over onto their own property. Same thing about a pole barn, the dog run, fences of all kinds. So it's really important that if you're working with a buyer and they're looking for vacant land on which to build, it's our job to advise them to find information, find out where on that lot it is buildable, where on that lot will you find water, where on that lot will you find places that a septic system could be built. All of those things take time, they take effort, and they take not forgetting them, not allowing them to slip through the cracks because you're busy or you forgot about it. There are a lot of apps that help us remember things today, and yet we all still forget things. That's normal. But when it comes to our clients, we have to remember that that's our number one responsibility in our jobs, is to make sure that we behave and act in the best fiduciary responsibility for our clients. Sometimes things go sideways. It's just the nature of this business. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes people move out of houses, sellers move out after 15 or 30 days possession, and they walk away and leave the place a dump. Is that the listing agent's fault? No. They didn't leave it a dump. Is there anything that they could have done, the listing agent, to fix that? I don't know the answer to that. Is it the buyer's agent's fault? No, it's not that. Is it the buyer's fault? Well, no, of course not. They're not the ones who left it a dump. But somewhere in the transaction, maybe if the buyer was concerned about the condition of the property and how it was going to be left, they could have asked for an escrow to be set up so that the property was in fact left in broom clean condition. Well, what's broom clean condition? I don't know. It's a subjective term. But broom clean condition, we know, doesn't include piles of paint cans in the basement and debris scattered throughout the house and old furniture overturned and so on and so forth. That we know a broom would probably bump into. We're pretty sure on that. The flip side, the difficult side of that, is if you're working as a buyer's agent and they really want the house and you put that language in there, is there a possibility that your offer won't be accepted because a competing offer didn't have that language in there? Of course there is. So it's a risk, and it's a risk that we have to share with our buyers. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, just want you to understand, we're not going to put an escrow, we're not going to ask for an escrow so that at possession the house is in broom clean condition. Just want you to understand we're doing that because we want your offer to be competitive and not thrown out in the street and so have them accept any other offer. Do you understand that that also means that it may be a dump when you get there? And if it is, then your options are to either clean it or sue the seller who didn't leave it as they were supposed to. Do you understand that? In fact, I want to be so sure that you understand it, I'd like you to sign this hold harmless that says that you understand that I've covered the risks and the potential problems. Sign it right there, please. But we get in a hurry. We get caught up in our emotions in the moment. We're excited to write up a sale or a listing, and so sometimes we don't answer the questions that they don't ask, and we have a responsibility to ask them and answer them for them, to help them understand what this process is all about and what the risks of this is all about. Speaking of emotions, how many times have you ever seen a baseball coach run out of the dugout, mad as heck, about a call that the umpire made? And he gets up in the face of the umpire and he shouts right into his face and he screams and he puffs out his chest just as close as he can get to the umpire, and then sometimes he even kicks dirt on him. How many times have you seen the umpire change his call because of that behavior? Never. They never change their call. In fact, they dig in their heels. want you to think about that in this business. When we get up in somebody's face and start to attack them about the way they're doing something, the likelihood is they're going to fight back. And then it just makes the situation worse. So sometimes you got to bob and weave, make them miss that punch that they threw at you, and just stay the course. Keep on trucking. Don't engage with them. Don't engage in the drama. If you allow yourself to get on the drama hook, you will spend a lot of energy, and ultimately you will be out of the business because people won't want to work with you. They don't want to work with drama. People don't like to engage in drama, most of them. So try very, very hard to allow your personal emotions to block your client's objectives. Sometimes we get in our own way. Sometimes we get in our seller's way or our buyer's way when we allow our egos to become involved. I could cite several examples that are happening right now, right on this day, where agents are like a couple of kids kicking sand at one another in the sandbox. Guess what? It's not going to make their buyers and sellers happier by them being difficult with one another. Our objective as agents is to put deals together. And sometimes we get caught up in being our clients' advocates when we forget that maybe advocating for them means winning the house or selling the house. And sometimes we have to put our egos aside in order to do that. Sometimes that's difficult. Nevertheless, who are you representing? Your seller? Your buyer? 5-star? Yes, you have a fiduciary responsibility to 5-star as well. So if we get complaints from the consumer that someone has treated them poorly, that a 5-star agent has treated them poorly, we have to take it seriously. We don't necessarily agree with them. We never say, oh yeah, well, you're right. We always say, we're going to look into this. We're going to dig deeper and find the truth and find the facts, and we will return your call. But my question to you is, why did it have to get to us? Why did it have to get to our plate before it got resolved? In my view, the agent could have fixed 90% of the problems that we see by saying, you know what, let me look into that. I'm not sure what the answer is, but I'm going to find out for you. Just hold tight, and I'll be back to you soon. Have you ever burned a bridge with a client or another agent? Are there agents out there who will never work with you again? Are there agents out there you will never work with again? Well, again, who does that help? Does it help you? I know that there are agents out there that I don't like. I don't tell them that, nor do I treat them in a way that they would believe that I dislike them nearly as much as I do. But I have to remember that when my client comes to me and says, I want to buy a house, and oh, it's listed with that person, I can't look at them and say, I don't like that person. I don't want to work with that person. I have to go, you know, let me make a call. And I'll call and say, hey, so-and-so, I've got a buyer, wants to look at your house. Can we get in there? Our personalities don't matter. The other agent's personality doesn't matter. It's our job to find a way to work with them, and sometimes that's by checking our ego at the door. It's as simple as that. You're a victim or you're a problem solver. Problem solvers find ways to win. Problem solvers find ways to deal with difficult agents and difficult clients. Victims point the finger of blame at everyone else. So, I encourage you to be a problem solver, to find ways to work with the most challenging agents and the most challenging buyers. I'll never forget Roger. Roger was a client of mine, and from the very beginning, I hated Roger. I just want you to know. I was calling expired listings, and Roger answered the phone. And I said, "Hi, I'm Don, blah, blah, blah. I see your house is expired listing, and how would you like me to come over and list your house, sell your house, blah, blah, blah." Roger cussed at me, and but he didn't just cuss at me. He used words that I'd never heard. But I looked them up, and they weren't nice. They truly weren't nice words at all. And so as our conversation started to wind down, I said, "So I'm confused. I know you don't like me. I can tell that much. But is that a yes or no?" And he was silent. He thought, "Can this agent be that stupid?" And I was. He said, "Well, be here tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Not 9:01, 9 a.m. And I said, "Okay." And so I was there at 5 minutes to 9, knowing exactly the kind of person I was dealing with. And at 9 o'clock, I got out of my car and walked up to his door. And as I was doing that, he nearly ran me over with his car because guess what? He was late coming back from wherever he was going. But that's okay. He's a client, prospective client. I walked in the door and he was cussing at me. And I thought, let me get this straight. In my head, I'm thinking, I could be taking my daughters, they were little then, I could be taking my daughters to the Saturday morning matinee right now rather than dealing with this verbal abuse. Let me ponder that. Okay, Roger, listen, here's the deal. Let me walk through the house, put my stuff down here if you don't mind. I'm going to make a few notes. I'm going to come back. So I did that, and I went through the house, and I made notes like this. Watch this. This is really cool. You may want to do this someday. Pay close attention. Done. Hey, Roger. Thanks. Appreciate the opportunity to come and see your house. I can't help you. He said, "What?" I said, "I can't help you." So what do you mean you can't help me? I don't know what's unclear, Roger. I can't help you. I can't help you. Your house is priced too high. Listen, thanks for the opportunity. You have a great day. Started to turn around, and he's saying those not nice words that I had to look up. And finally, he said to me, "Well, what do you think it should be priced at?" And I told him, $75,000 tops. And he said to me, you know what he said to me? He said to me, "Well, I could have sold it for that myself." I looked at him and said, "You should have. I would have. But thanks again for the opportunity, and I'm going to go now." And I got about 3 more steps toward the door, and he turned to me and he says, "Well, I wouldn't sell it for a penny less than that." I took out the listing contract and said, "No problem, sign here." He signed the contract. 3 days later, we had a full price off. Well, it was $74.9, and we got an offer for $74.8. And I presented the offer to him, and he said, "You told me I wouldn't have to accept any offer under $74.9." And I said, "You're absolutely right, I did, Roger. And you're absolutely right, you don't." So, is that a no? And I started to take the offer away, and he said, "Well, what are you going to do about it?" I'm going to wait for your answer, Roger. You're not going to throw $100 at us? No, Roger, actually I'm not. And what I was thinking in my head was, because I think you're a complete jerk. But I didn't say that. Finally, after about 10 minutes of waiting, he signed it and he said, "Well, I'll be a..." And he called himself a name. And I thought that was precious. It was the fastest listing appointment I've ever been on. I had the sign in the yard, got all my signatures, signed in the yard, and was driving away at 9:15. It was a 15-minute listing, presentation, signed, sign in yard, driving away. I had my kids to the 11 o'clock movie, eating popcorn. My point was, I got we finally got the thing closed. And every year after that, I got a Christmas card from Roger and his wife. Because he said, "You were the best real estate agent I've ever met." And I thought, "Thanks, Roger. You're still one of the worst clients I've ever had, but thanks." So sometimes we have to put our egos in check. Sometimes we have to not say the things we really want to say. And sometimes that's the difference between touching all the bases, landing on home plate, and scoring than not getting paid at all. I hope this helps. Hope to see you at the Christmas party and Con Ed. And thanks for joining today.